Book Review. Titled, Maps of Meaning by Jordan Peterson. Maps of Meaning is a profound and ambitious book by Jordan Peterson, a Canadian clinical psychologist and professor of psychology. The book was first published in 1999 and has since become a classic in the field of psychology, philosophy, and cultural studies. In Maps of Meaning, Peterson explores the nature of meaning, consciousness, and personality, drawing from a wide range of sources, including mythology, literature, religion, and psychology. He argues that our understanding of meaning is rooted in our biology, our evolutionary history, and our cultural heritage, and that it is shaped by our experiences, our values, and our beliefs. The book is divided into two parts. In the first part, Peterson presents a comprehensive theory of meaning, drawing from diverse fields such as neuroscience, psychoanalysis, and philosophy. He argues that our perception of the world is shaped by a complex interplay of biological and cultural factors, and that our understanding of reality is mediated by a set of fundamental archetypes, or maps, that are common to all human cultures. Peterson's analysis is both detailed and comprehensive, and he provides a wealth of insights into the nature of human consciousness and the structure of the human psyche. In the second part of the book, Peterson applies his theory of meaning to a range of cultural phenomena, including mythology, art, religion, and political ideology. He examines the role of myth in shaping cultural values and beliefs, and he shows how the archetypes of the hero, the trickster, and the dragon are reflected in the stories we tell ourselves about our place in the world. He also explores the ways in which religious and political systems have been used to create social order and to give meaning to human life. Overall, Maps of Meaning is a dense and challenging book, but it is also a deeply rewarding one. Peterson's insights into the nature of meaning and the structure of the human psyche are profound, and his analysis of cultural phenomena is both enlightening and thought-provoking. While the book may not be for everyone, those who are interested in psychology, philosophy, and cultural studies will find much to engage with and to ponder in Maps of Meaning.
Random House Audio presents Maps of Meaning, the Architecture of Belief. This is the author, Jordan B. Peterson. All images and figures mentioned are collected in a PDF that accompanies this audiobook. I will utter things which have been kept secret from the foundation of the world. Matthew 13:35. Preface. Descensus ad inferos. Something we cannot see protects us from something we do not understand. The thing we cannot see is culture in its intrapsychic or internal manifestation. The thing we do not understand is the chaos that gave rise to culture. If the structure of culture is disrupted unwittingly, chaos returns. We will do anything to defend ourselves against that return. In Carl Jung's words, the very fact that a general problem has gripped and assimilated the whole of a person is a guarantee that the speaker has really experienced it and perhaps gained something from his sufferings. He will then reflect the problem for us in his personal life and thereby show us a truth. I was raised under the protective auspices, so to speak, of the Christian Church. This does not mean that my family was explicitly religious. I attended conservative Protestant services during childhood with my mother, but she was not a dogmatic or authoritarian believer, and we never discussed religious issues at home. My father appeared essentially agnostic, at least in the traditional sense. He refused to even set foot in a church, except during weddings and funerals. Nonetheless, the historical remnants of Christian morality permeated our household, conditioning our expectations and interpersonal responses in the most intimate of manners. When I grew up, after all, most people still attended church. Furthermore, all the rules and expectations that made up middle-class society were Judeo-Christian in nature. Even the increasing number of those who could not tolerate formal ritual and belief still implicitly accepted, still acted out, the rules that made up the Christian game. When I was 12 or so, my mother enrolled me in confirmation classes, which served as introduction to adult membership in the church. I did not like attending. I I did not like the attitude of my overtly religious classmates, who were few in number, and did not desire their lack of social standing. I did not like the school-like atmosphere of the confirmation classes. More importantly, however, I could not swallow what I was being taught. I asked the minister at one point how he reconciled the story of Genesis with the creation theories of modern science. He had not undertaken such a reconciliation. Furthermore, he seemed more convinced in his heart of the evolutionary viewpoint. I was looking for an excuse to leave anyway, and that was the last straw. Religion was for the ignorant, weak, and superstitious. I stopped attending church and joined the modern world. Although I had grown up in a Christian environment and had a successful and happy childhood in at least partial consequence, I was more than willing to throw aside the structure that had fostered me. No one really opposed my rebellious efforts either in church or at home, in part because those who were deeply religious, or who might have wanted to be, had no intellectually acceptable counter-arguments at their disposal. After all, many of the basic tenets of Christian belief were incomprehensible, if not clearly absurd. The virgin birth was an impossibility. Likewise, the notion that someone could rise from the dead. Did my act of rebellion precipitate a familial or social crisis? No. My actions were so predictable in a sense that they upset no one, with the exception of my mother, and even she was soon resigned to the inevitable. The other members of the church, my community, had become absolutely habituated to the increasingly more frequent act of defection and did not even notice. Did my act of rebellion upset me personally? Only in a manner I was not able to perceive until many years later. I developed a premature concern with large-scale political and social issues at about the same time I quit attending church. Why were some countries, some people, rich, happy, and successful, while others were doomed to misery? Why were the forces of NATO and the Soviet Union continually at each other's throats? How was it possible for people to act the way the Nazis had during World War II? Underlying these specific considerations was a broader, but at the time ill-conceptualized question. How did evil, particularly group-fostered evil, come to play its role in the world? I abandoned the traditions that supported me at about the same time I left childhood. This meant that I had no broader, socially constructed philosophy at hand to aid my understanding as I became aware of the existential problems that accompany maturity. The final consequences of that lack took years to become fully manifest. In the meantime, however, my nascent concern with questions of moral justice found immediate resolution. I started working as a volunteer for a mildly socialist political party and adopted the party line. Economic injustice was at the root of all evil, as far as I was concerned. Such injustice could be rectified as a consequence of the rearrangement of social organizations. I could play a part in that admirable revolution, carrying out my ideological beliefs. Doubt vanished. My role was clear. Looking back, I'm amazed at how stereotypical my reactions really were. I could not rationally accept the premises of religion as I understood them. I turned in consequence to dreams of political utopia and personal power. The same ideological trap caught millions of others in recent centuries. When I was 17, I left the town I grew up in. I moved nearby and attended a small college, which offered the first 2 years of undergraduate education. I involved myself there in university politics, which were more or less left-wing at that time, and was elected to the College Board of Governors. The board was composed of politically and ideologically conservative people, lawyers, doctors, and businessmen. They were all well, or at least practically educated, pragmatic, confident, outspoken. They had all accomplished something worthwhile and difficult. I could not help but admire them, even though I did not share their political stance. I found the fact of my admiration unsettling. I had attended several left-wing party congresses as a student politician and active party worker. I hoped to emulate the socialist leaders. The left had a long and honorable history in Canada and attracted some truly competent and caring people. However, I could not generate much respect for the numerous low-level party activists I encountered at these meetings. They seemed to live to complain. They had no career frequently and no family, no completed education. Nothing but ideology. They were peevish, irritable, and little in every sense of the word. I was faced in consequence with a mirror image of the problem I encountered on the college board. I did not admire many of the individuals who believed the same things I did. This additional complication furthered my existential confusion. My college roommate, an insightful cynic, expressed skepticism regarding my ideological beliefs. He told me that the world could not be completely encapsulated within the boundaries of socialist philosophy. I had more or less come to this conclusion on my own, but had not admitted so much in words. Soon afterward, however, I read George Orwell's Road to Wigan Pier. This book finally undermined me, not only my socialist ideology, but my faith in ideological stances themselves.